Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Chris Bai. So thank you, Max, for the introduction. And I also need to thank for the Hong Kong Printers Association and also APTAC for inviting us here and making this happen. So for the last speaker before the lunch, I believe it's a lot of pressure on me because I think everybody wants to be on time for lunch. So I promise you, I will be on time. So this is my first priority, okay? So I think people will definitely think why I'm talking about this topic here, which is also a mouthful. Because I would think about this HDR whole topic, and I think the softproofing is also one type of HDR application. Because think of this way, displays have a large, like a high dynamic range compared to prints. And I think Timo and also Dr. Abibi talked about color transformation before that in HDR workflow, that we need color transformation. And we already have this in ancient time, like many years ago, we already have this. But in some findings here, I'm going to share that we already find out one missing pieces is that observer plays a very important role in this era. So that's what I'm going to talk about, like how we can improve this performance in this HDR era. Okay. So let's bring back to time in 2013. So that's when a lot of LED displays were introduced back in the old days, which are going to replace the CCFO displays. Okay. So that was very exciting news. But lots of color experts, when they applied the LED displays to the softproofing scenarios, they found out, well, it doesn't work quite well, okay? And most of the people will blame, well, BenQ didn't make a really good display, okay? But we did everything by the book. We checked everything, and we found out, well, we did nothing wrong. But it's hard to argue with the lots of color experts because we're new to the market. So what were the symptoms? The symptoms were actually, you can find a lot of variations in the shift in the hues, and also, for example, the blue, the green, and also the yellow. And there are also overall shifts in the saturation, okay? So even though you have a very similar readings from the displays and also from the prints, you also get this visual differences, okay? So why? That makes me think why we have these differences. So we take a look at the spectral characteristics from the prints. So prints are illuminated by the broadband illumini. So you're looking like D50 or D65, right? So it's broadband. But displays here, they're actually narrowband. So it gives you very different characteristics of the visual appearance. So we designed an experiment to try to do, okay, how can we make it improve? Okay. So we conduct a visual match between a display and a hard copy print. So we adjust the parameters on the display. So we try to make a visual match first on the display. We don't care about what's the reading are. Okay. And then we designed this experiment in two parts. The first part is what we call a color matching function construction experiment. So that's why we need to establish a visual match first. So we asked about 45 observers to participate in this experiment. So we actually asked the observers to use this previous software to actually adjust the image on the display to match the print. And the observers, there are like 24 male and 21 females, and it ranges from 25 to 45 years old, and they're all my colleagues in my company, okay? And the reason why only 45 observers in this experiment is because I'm running out of friends in my company. So I'm hoping that I can make some more new friends here today, so they can be a part of my experiments, okay? So each observers were asked to conduct this experiment 3 times. So we made about 900 judgments in the experiment. So I'm not going into details about the procedures, but basically we calibrate displays and we did the matching for the 3 times, and then we actually measure all the color patches, and then we record it. Okay, and there's a second part of the experiment called validation. So we actually using the measured value, and we devise the individual color matching function based on the 2-degree color matching function. That's what we have been using for ages. So we devise the individual and the average, and also we look into how we can group it in 3 different groups based on this 45 observers. So in the next experiment, the validation experiment, we asked the observer to actually evaluate 6 sets of the color matching functions for the best match, and also we calculate the delta E values. So these are actually the individual color matching functions for the 45 observers. So even though these are actually quite a small set of the observers, you can see these are quite different. So you can see one particular observer having a quite large difference in the blue area. Okay. So I took the 6 sets of the color matching functions are drawn here. So you can take a look. It's also quite different as well. Okay. So by looking at the graphs, you probably don't have the sense of like what does it look like in real life. Okay. So I'm hoping that on the screen you can see lots of differences in this. When we actually generate the images on the display, they will actually look different. I hope you can see that. So this is from the 2-degree. It's on the top left, that 2-degree. So that's what we usually apply to the original image. And in the middle is in the individual color matching function, and on the your right, yes, is the average. So the average is taken from the 45 observers. That's the average one. And on the bottom, we took the k-means cluster method to divide 3 categories. So the reason why we took this method, that's we want to see if any categories, these categories can be fitted with these observers to see, well, even though we don't have, if we don't have individual color matching function, well, these categories fit for these observers. So these are the green, okay? So you can definitely see some differences in the green and the blue. The blue are less pronounced here, but I believe the green are very, very, very saturated, so we'll see less difference here. But the cyan, you can definitely see a lot of the difference in cyan area, okay? And the magenta, I think you will definitely see pronounced difference in magenta area, okay? And the yellow, okay? The yellow, I think, besides the 2-degree observer, I think the other 5 sets of color matching function, you don't see a lot of difference, and I'll explain that later on. Okay. So these are the 6 sets of color matching functions. So in the validation experiment, that we need to determine which set of the color matching function will deliver better performance for the soft-proofing scenario. So our experiment procedure is actually to calculate corresponding matrix. Well, if you like, you can call it compensation or correction matrix from the 2-degree standard observer. Okay. So we devised actually 5 sets of color matching, 5 sets of matrices. So we devised 1 matrix for individual color matching functions. So we have 45 matrices for all the observers. And we calculate the average color matching matrices, and also 3 categories for the k-means. And we put these matrices into our ICC profile. And then we use the ICC profile to actually apply that to the image itself, and ask the observer to evaluate the 6 sets of these color matching function. And it also included these 2 degrees observer as the best match. And also we calculate the delta E value between the print and the display. So these are actually when we apply the ICC profile to the image and showing on the display and then compare to the prints. So you can see actually this is what it looks like compared to in the real life. Okay, so the prints are actually the same. We didn't change the print, but all it changes are the displayed image. Okay, and the green. Blue, as usual, blue doesn't show a lot of difference here, but the cyan shows more pronounced differences. And also magenta, okay, and that's coming with the yellow. And also, very important about the white. We're also looking into the white as well, because white is one very, the fundamental attribute we're looking at when we compare to the print as well. So that's why we're putting the white here to look at the differences here. Okay. All right. So I would like to spend more time on the results here, because I think this is much more fun to discuss about results and numbers here. I hope you agree with that. So I took the results of 5 observers here, and then they all show different numbers, and I'll explain the numbers first. Okay, the number here in the table, that means 1. Okay, is this particular observer for this color patch. They choose the 2-degree observer, which is called original image. Okay, and then if they choose 2, that means he or she choose the average color matching function. That means the average of the 45 observers. And if it's a 3, that means he or she choose his or her own color matching function. Okay, so 4, 5, 6, that means the observer choose the k-means cluster 1, 2, or 3 color matching function. Okay, so from this table, I think most people will see actually or 3 or 4. Okay, that means it's encouraging that these 5 observers actually choosing individual color matching function or the k-means cluster 1. Okay, so that means it is an improvement over the original color matching function. So the below is actually the color matrix for when we devise all the color matching functions. Okay. Now I would like to point out observer A, which is actually quite outstanding. Okay, because this is where this particular observer is actually choosing most of the color patches for individual color matching function. Okay, so it's a white except for the magenta and the yellow. And another interesting observation from this table here is for the yellow. Most of the observer, or say all of the observer in this case, will choose the original color matching function. So this is quite different than what we expected. So this is quite interesting to find. So I think this is an encouraging result. So that shows that we need a good individual, or at least k-means clustering category, to have a better improvement over what we call the 2 degrees standard observer for getting a better color matching function, color matching performance on the softproofing for the narrowband displays. Okay. So we also do a numeric validation. So we measure based on the ISO 14861 color patches to conduct these softproof validation. And we also compare this using a CCFL monitor, which is, by the way, which is very hard to find nowadays. So we try to dig out from our inventory, and then we finally found one of these CCFL monitors. Okay. So by the way, if you have some CCFL monitors in your warehouse which doesn't use anymore, please donate to me. I'll be very appreciated. Okay. So these are the results and criteria. So we use 14865's criteria to evaluate this. So the CCFL is actually quite amazing. It's having the best result compared to the prints. So we measure it still, although it's like the product itself is like 20 years ago, and we calibrate it, and it actually still amazingly has the lowest delta E between the prints and the display. So it has an average delta E like 2.72. And the LED, without doing anything, we just calibrate it and the average delta E is 3.79, but the maximum delta E actually exceeded the criteria for 14861. So exceeded 6.5. But if we apply this color matching function from the observer A, using his individual color matching function, the average delta E will actually down to 3.16. And the maximum delta E will become 6.46. So it's actually less than the criteria 6.5. So I think from this is a really preliminary analysis, also preliminary test. So actually, we also show that CCFL has the best match because it's still broadband display in this sense, and which can match the broadband illuminant in our viewing cabinet. I think this is the fundamental reason why we have a good numerical match, and also a visual match as well. And the LED with individual color matching function can also improve the softproofing experiment, the performance. Okay, so modern wide color gamut display actually can cause color matching failure. Okay, so the degree of color matching failure is actually observer specific. So like you and me see color very differently. So we actually need, we call personalized color management nowadays. And the experiment results has showing color matching function other than 2 degrees can actually be a better match in the softproofing scenario. And delta E values also support the improvement. So that's why ICC architecture, right now we support the individual color matching functions. So ICC Max architecture can nowadays be, should be widely adapted. Okay, so I hope you can grasp the idea of using the individual color matching function. And if you have more questions about it, I'm here all day, so feel free to contact me. All right, thank you very much for listening.